What did I want the audience to remember from the presentation? I guess about my transcendent humanity. I want them to say, I feel like I had a special moment with a man who I have long followed but never really recognized as the spiritual leader that he clearly is. Either that, or for them to recognize that at long last the advertising industry's dead. You know, it's either one of those two things. But there is a sort of New Testament parallel, right? I mean, I am talking about death and resurrection. And here, as we approach Good Friday, the notion that the marketing industry, which had been so heavily dependent on advertising and mass media, and that's all, you know, in its final days, right? We are end of days, but there is life in the resurrection, and that means that the very forces that have destroyed the mass media, mass marketing, yin and yang, to change spiritual metaphors yet one more time, but now I'm going all Taoist on you. Yeah, that's right. Coming up, Hindu. Now, the very forces that are destroying the mass media, mass marketing symbiosis are going to create the opportunity for us to entirely change the way that we communicate, not just with consumers, but all communities, all stakeholders, everyone who has an interest in our brand, including employees and members of the physical community, legislators and regulators, and just plain folks. And all of a sudden we're going to be cultivating, through these social media tools, actual relationships, and relationships that don't go just one direction, which, as far as I'm concerned, increases the number of directions by 100%, which can only be good. How can we trust branded content to be an honest broker of brands, right, of themselves? I mean, how can I trust Coca-Cola to be telling me the truth about all things Coca-Cola, and all things nutrition, and all things non-nutritional, and all, are they going to be honest brokers? Well, what you learn from journalism is you have nothing if you lack credibility. And while people will give you the benefit of the doubt of having a dog in the fight, of having an axe to grind, a stake in portraying things a certain way, this is not advertising anymore. It is content, and you now have the obligation to be a fair broker and not to misrepresent things as they are not. Not to selectively edit, to put your best foot forward. You've got to suddenly be a lot more transparent than you've ever been in the entire history of your brand. Because if you're not transparent, the great social sphere will get right to the bottom of it in a big ass hurry, and then you'll really be in trouble. So, tell the truth, and lots of it.
So it almost seems like the social sphere is becoming that investigative reporter who will find out what you're doing bad and raise it into the public consciousness.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, they're becoming a sort of journalistic force in themselves. Yeah, because they will catch you in a lie, and they'll catch you in a half-truth as well. And there's not a whole lot of difference between a half-truth and a lie, which is something advertisers have never had to really internalize, because they got to tell half-truths for about 300 or 400 years. But you just can't do it in the social space, because people will absolutely dime you out. People have always had relationships with their brands that the brands themselves didn't understand. And sometimes, kind of perverse relationships. I mean, people care really deeply about their fabric softeners. Not everybody. Not most fabric softener customers may be kind of indifferent to it, and it may be a commodity product or maybe not. But some substantial percentage of people really care about their dryer sheets. Now, I don't know why that is. And by the way, if in a low involvement, low interest product like dryer sheets, people have actual genuine emotions, you can imagine as you move up towards fashion and fragrances and automobiles and the other kind of classically brand badging kinds of categories. So they've always been that way, but now they can just dive right in, and they can express themselves in ways that not only get back to the brands, but get back to the great everybody else. And it's just a playground for people who have always had these weird tugs. I mean, is it emotional? Yeah, some of it's emotional. Is it rational? Some of it is, some of it isn't. But you have to understand that brands have always had values apart from what they actually do for you. But because one of the things they do for you that they're not necessarily selling is they help you define yourself. And in this consumer society, for better or worse, many of us think of ourselves as the accumulation of the stuff that we buy and use. And therefore we imbue brands with this a kind of quality and a value that goes far beyond how good they are at freshening my towels. Some people just think of themselves as bounce people. I don't want to get stuck in a cocktail party conversation with a bounce person, but there are a lot of them. And now they have a forum. And if you're manufacturing Bounce, I think it's Procter & Gamble, and you're not out trying to strike up a conversation with them and to find common ground, then you're missing a very good opportunity. And by the way, you're missing an opportunity not only to continue to sell Bounce to this fabric softener freak, you're getting the opportunity to hear from the Bouncer sphere stuff about fabric softener that you and all your experts in R&D and product development had never thought of, because they're thinking a whole lot. The aggregate IQ of the world that is focused on fabric dryer sheets is far greater than anything you have in-house. The novelty of having a Facebook page for a brand is long gone. It is now de rigueur, right? Do we have a Facebook page? Check. That's very different from understanding the whole purpose of being there. And just checking off Facebook page, Twitter feed, that may satisfy. I don't know who it satisfies, but you have to understand what kind of conversations are going on here and what that means and how to make it integral to whatever your brand meaning is, your brand ethos, your brand values. Because brands have values too, and to the extent that they can overlap with their various constituencies, great things can happen. I would take money from Oral-B and help them understand their own values as a brand. And I would help them find the overlap between what they stand for, or for that matter, just what they sell, with the needs, thoughts, desires, wishes, interests, dreams of the great toothbrush buying public. And I don't believe, I took some shots today at cause marketing, because in many ways I think it's just a cheap way to sort of licensed character purchase. There's going to be another Terminator movie, so Burger King buys the cup license or the Happy Meal license or whatever, and some people are buying poverty. They're going out and they're investing in poverty as if it were some sort of product promotion, and I think that's cynical, exploitive, wrong. I think it strikes all the wrong notes. But if Oral-B showed a concern with the oral health of people where that's a real a serious life and death health issue, and found common ground with the people who take oral health for granted, just for example, just blue skying here, that would be a kind of way to find common ground and to have a real conversation about real things. And there's hardly a product or service category that I can think of that can't find and make and cultivate these connections.